Hello, my name is Rowan. Today I'm going to read you The Girl and the Demon by Aart-ish. This is an insightful story about two entities in conflict with each other within the same skin. So without further ado, let's begin. Once there was a girl who had a demon. Or perhaps, once there was a demon who had a girl. Often, the lines of ownership became blurred for the girl. Or the demon, depending on whichever party presently felt in control at any given time. The demon lurked deep within her some days, slumbering inside a little black shell next to her heart, or inside the deepest recesses of her mind, or else some place so deep that she could not even pinpoint its location. On these days she was immune to the beast's poison, and so great was her relief from its symptoms that she saw the world as an absolutely breathtaking and beautiful place. People were good. Life was good. And even when people and life were not good, she was still good. And she felt as though anything that was not purely and wholly good, she could make good in her goodness. The world bowed to the girl when the demon was away, and she needed nothing more than that. She was contented in a way that most normal people never achieve, aware of herself and her surroundings, and loving them both to pieces. Yet, even on these occasions, an anxiety lurked. It was the anxiety of knowing that nothing lasts, and that the girl in particular lasted for far less time than most nothings. Even in her happiness, she began to remember the demon if she was alone with her thoughts for too long, anticipating the moment when it would come lashing back out at her, bursting from her heart to tear her to shreds, to consume her for any indefinite period of time, and then spit her back out again. Its habits unpredictable, erratic, absolutely animalistic. And often, the mere act of believing in the thing, of allowing it presence in her mind, sent a signal to the little black node next to her heart, or mind, or soul, or whatever abstract place in man that makes him susceptible to such things, literary or literal, and it stirred the beast from slumber. This vicious, horrible creature could be brought to life by any number of stimuli. An overabundance of thought, for instance, was enough to do the trick. Or it could be a thoughtless word from someone, spoken in haste, perhaps not even directed at the girl, but reminding her of something she disliked about herself, or something she disliked about the world around her, making her feel insecure, making her bubble up with the black bile of her corrupted soul, her shortcomings and anxieties all sloshing around and solidifying and becoming physical deformations, her body adapting as a means of self-defense against self-assumed weaknesses. Claws growing out and piercing the flesh of her fingertips to tear apart a world of fake, shallow, purposeless individuals, her teeth sharpening into fangs with which to pierce the flesh of her enemies, discriminating poorly between those who genuinely meant her harm and those who only wished to help her, the former category being far scarcer than the latter, but her eyes would become coated with a sort of distorted red lens, flaring up angrily with flames, blinding her to truth, but making the world a dark, gritty, antagonistic place. People, when viewed through this hellish frame of mind, were despicable. They were dull, and stupid, and hideous, and treacherous, and nothing about them seemed worth liking. They spoke too much and said nothing, speaking only moronic, pointless things, anyone and everyone, their words not worth the cost of the breath it took to produce them, and everything about mankind vain and fleeting, and everything about the demon superior for her realization of it. And then she would crash. She would become paralyzed with isolation, because this is a world of people, not of demons, and as superior as demons may be, it is impossible for them to find comrades in other men. Which is not to say that demon brethren and sisters do not exist, but that a demon in its hatred will not recognize them as such. It will devise any reason to criticize another being as inferior, even if that other being is far more like itself than it cares to ever admit, and it will flee from its fellow monster. It will look for ways to avoid the very comrade in life it believes itself to have been seeking in its bottomless darkness, and it will wonder, even as it tears the one who cares about it to shreds, why it feels so alone and so sad all the time. And so it was with the demon and her girl. The girl, it should be mentioned, did not disappear whenever the demon took over. Similarly, she crawled into the shell next to the heart, mind, soul of her heartless, mindless, soulless host, stripped naked and bare, and curled up into herself, like a fetus inside the womb, waiting as the creature's black heart throbbed in her ears for the day of her rebirth, her periodic emergence from the shell, crying and not being able to cry, and counting down the days of her release. An act made difficult by the fact that there was no schedule or predictability to her trade-offs of existence with the demon. She could be trapped inside for weeks on end, or else only for an afternoon, acting as a monster's last bastion of feeling, the tender little part of that demon that made it feel pain and loneliness despite its alleged hatred for the world. The constant reminder of humanity that prevented the demon's claws from ever truly piercing flesh, that kept the teeth from biting, and the long serpentine tongue from lapping up the blood from fellow human beings. No. The demon's predatory assets were invariably nullified by the presence of the girl inside her, signs of danger and much longed-for seclusion, a state of ferality even, but no genuine threat due to the deeply interred presence of humanity. Instead, her ferocity was a simmering, highly personal destruction, wanting, burning to attack, to rend to bits this world which she hated, but her restraint forcing her to take out her frustrations solely upon herself, seeking out activities which she knew to be harmful to her overall well-being, but which she somehow believed would offer her some small form of solace from her suffering. No, that isn't right. She did not believe it. She knew full well that the things men used to escape their demons never genuinely work, but that they do them anyway, having to at least pretend to themselves that they will work, because without them, what hope do they have? They know full well, as did the demon, that there is truly no hope, but they must pretend just to survive until the sun re-emerges for them, whenever that mythical event may occur, reveling meantime in the blackest activities of night, participating in things that they know to be bad for themselves, things they know might even dig them deeper into their pits of darkness, but which offer such brief flashes of illusory happiness that they simply cannot resist. And inside, the girl could only wait, watching as she slowly destroyed herself, waiting and waiting and waiting for the day of her return to the land of the living. And always, always, always it came, and its coming alone was what kept her intact at all during her never-ending spells of human dormancy. It could come from anything. It could come from the clouds being unravelled in the sky and the sun poking through to illuminate a grey day. It could be awakening to a new morning, to the promise of hope once again returned to her, strong enough that even its inevitable snatching away was insufficient to dampen her joy at its return. Or it might just come from nothing. It might be like the flipping of a switch. One moment she was demon, one moment she was girl. On, off, on, off. The futility of happiness consumed her. The unpredictability of sorrow became the only true fact of her existence. Always, whichever party was in control would be forced to compensate for the actions of the other. The girl spending her fleeting moments of joy picking up pieces, fixing mistakes she'd made while consumed by the demon. The demon taking whatever progress the girl would make during her reigns and toppling it over like a child's tower of blocks, backing out of commitments she knew the two of them could not fulfill, but which the girl had made in her deluded happiness, thinking she could handle them, that she'd thought could somehow improve her life if she did manage to follow through. But this was her life, and it was not her life. It was their life. It was a life of constant fluctuation, of building up and tearing down, of construction and obliteration, of taking one step forward and 10 steps back, of being lucky to remain stationary, but more often than not, plummeting further backwards with every attempted move towards progress. The girl wished that she had an end to her story. She didn't even muster up the delusion to wish for a happy ending. She knew that this was tantamount to praying for a miracle in the land of the faithless. She could live with a sad ending, and she felt fairly certain that if she were to receive one at all, this would be the only kind offered. But the worst thing in the world was not having an ending. It was being forced to endure this endless, repetitive cycle indefinitely, of hope being teased and then snatched away from under her, gobbled up by the demon, and gone until she happened to be lucky enough to find more of the rich, golden nectar to sustain herself. She couldn't take the constant, never-ending whiplash of girl, demon, girl, demon, girl, demon. But she knew that there would be no ending in store for her, save for that which is inevitable and only sometimes better than no ending at all. The ending of that long, black, never-ending night. We upload a new story every Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday. Please don't forget to like and subscribe to us, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video. Goodbye.